What's up, Penn Staters? Thanks for tuning into the Football Letter podcast. This week, we welcome Penn State football letterman and Super Bowl champion Grant Haley. Grant played a pivotal role in helping to lead Penn State to a Big Ten championship and Rose Bowl appearance in 2016. And of course, his return touchdown of a blocked kick against Ohio State gave Penn State a lead in the fourth quarter that catapulted the Nittany Lions to a victory over the second-ranked Buckeyes to 9 straight wins and to that Big Ten championship win in Indianapolis over Wisconsin. After graduating from Penn State in 2017, Grant played in the NFL for 4 seasons with the New York Giants, New Orleans Saints, and Los Angeles Rams, winning Super Bowl 56 with the Rams. Grant recently retired from the NFL, but he continues to make an impact, continues to make a difference, working for Gallagher, focusing on insurance, risk management, and consulting. If you can't tell from my voice, I am fired up. This is going to be fun. Grant Haley, we are so honored that you're joining the Football Letter podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good, John. I appreciate you guys having me on today. I think, I'm a big, believer in Penn State and, what it's done for me just outside of football, the alumni, just the support, through ups and downs in life. And so it's a great to come back and talk about Penn State and football.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun. We usually start somewhat towards the beginning of someone's story, but you just recently retired here. And just wanted to ask, kind of maybe take us through that decision making a little bit. What factors were you considering, and what ultimately made you think, this is the best decision for me right now?
Yeah, I think for any athlete, whether it's, when you stop playing football in high school or any sport in college, I think, there comes a time where reality starts to settle in, whether it's, it's you're not your time, whether it's injury, whatever the case may be. And, my last season in the NFL, I ended up tearing my ACL in 2022. And so I missed the rest of the 22 season. And then I wasn't even cleared till about, midway through 2023, and was hoping to get an opportunity to play again. Just the cards weren't in my favor. And fortunately, I've had a great support system and role models in my life. And, I've always been proactive about, figuring out my next path, and, just some mentors that have come up in some big moments to, get me to kind of realize, what my dreams and aspirations were. And, just taking advice from mentors and things that I've learned and tried to grow on in my own, professional career outside of football. I think, it was a hard decision, but it was also one of those where I could, sit around and, wait for a team to call, or I could be proactive about my life and, start a new chapter and, be thankful for the past and, and look forward to the present.
Yeah, that's great perspective, Grant. Has anything, I know it's recent and still early, but has anything happened over the last few weeks that's told you, yeah, I made the right decision, or are you still in that period where you're adjusting to everything?
I don't think there has been like a certain fact where it's been like this was the right decision. I think for me, I am absolutely happy in my new role at Gallagher. I think being only there for about 2 months now, it's been a great team environment. And, I think, that's some of the things that I was missing, right? Being a part of a team my whole life, although it was athletically, coming into a role where, there's such a close-knit group of individuals who are helping you in terms of your education and your next phase, and just, being, a resource for me. So it's been a great transition, and I'm just excited to be at a company that allows me to grow and to, help use my background and my experience and network to, make a difference.
Wondering if you can just share a little bit of information with the Penn Staters tuning in. What are you doing with Gallagher or at Gallagher? What are you focusing on? And maybe just kind of update Penn Staters on this new chapter of your life.
Yeah, so currently, about 2 months ago, I started working at Gallagher. We are a commercial insurance broker practice firm, one of the top 5. And I'm technically a producer. So in my role, I am going out and finding businesses, whether it's construction. I'm kind of focusing on construction, hospitals, manufacturing, transportation, but we're looking for businesses to help aid them in the process of, creating a program for their risk management, right? I think, we always talk about losses and how to minimize them, where, safety practices, whether it's having certain insurances and make sure you're covered in areas and making sure you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. So it has been, a whole new world. It's a whole new playbook, but I think, being over at especially in my office at Gallagher, they have, been honing in on my education and catching me up to speed and bringing me to meetings to be able to kind of understand how the process goes. And it's been a great first transition step.
Well, that's great, Grant. Just wanted to pause for a moment and say congratulations and wishing you all the best. And we know that you'll do great there.
Thank you very much.
So, turning our attention to football now, your freshman season at Penn State, you arrived with James Franklin. Just wondering, what were some of the early things about Penn State that stood out to you, whether it be on the field or maybe even just things on campus?
Yeah, I think, when I first went up to visit Penn State, I'll remember it was like yesterday. It was January, and I'm from Georgia. I remind you that. It was January. It was cold. There was snow on the ground. And I mean, for me, that was probably the first time I'd actually see like snow stick and stay on the ground. So it was one of those things where you come into an environment that you kind of want that football. Uh, it's like a football county center, like, right? Like you think about watching when I was in high school, watching Friday Night Lights and seeing, the dreams of like everybody, the whole city shutting down and coming to support their team. And, I kind of got that vibe from Penn State. It also helps that, my mom is a Penn State graduate too. And, her coming with me on my first visit, it it was truly like, a dream for her because she hadn't came back in a while. So it was an amazing experience for me to be able to come up and, be able to visit Penn State, and I immediately fell in love with it. I mean, it was dark and the stadium lights are in, and we're driving from University Park Airport, and my mom says, she always laughs, she smiles and says that when walked up to the stadium, she saw me smile and she was like, I knew he was going to come to Penn State at that point. And she was absolutely right. And I think at that point, I was committed to Vanderbilt at first. But, when I got to Penn State, I think, it was one of the first times in my life, like I felt like I made the decision that changed the course of my life, right? Whether it's the relationships I've met and built, the alumni that I'm, trying to tap into and be able to, leverage my network. It was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Well, let's stick with that side of the conversation then, Grant. When you look back at your Penn State experience, how did being a student athlete at Penn State, playing on the football team, how did that help prepare you, one, for the NFL, but also for life after football?
Yeah, I think the coaching that I had, right? I think, two guys, two coaches who are still there, obviously Coach Franklin and Coach Smith. I think, when you're a 18 to 22-year-old young man, right? I think, those are the people that you need in your corner. I think Coach Smith and Coach Franklin are both still mentors to me today. I remember, I mean, both of them after I retired, call me up and say, how can I help? What can I do? Right. And those are, people who are in your corner, obviously for a football aspect, but as a young man. Right. And again, I think what I learned was just, those four core values that, Franklin tries to reiterate in our minds, right? Whether it's compete, work ethic, sacrifice, and having a positive attitude. I think, if you're able to wake up at every single morning and attack the day with a positive attitude, great work ethic, just a mindset, then you're going to be successful. And I think the things that have carried over to me is just the discipline, the respecting of, you know, I think being at Penn State, right? There's such a historic um, aspect to it. Just legendary school, university, football program, and you have respect for the people that came before you, and respecting mentors, respecting elders, and being able to accept knowledge and accept education. And so I think those things of just being able to be molded by great men, but also being able to kind of have the four core values that Franklin's talking about each and every single day. Regardless of it being a football aspect, that's how I believe you should live your life, because if you're not having a positive attitude and you're going bad and you're having bad thoughts, then it could ruin the whole day for you. And it's just simple things, just making your bed in the morning or doing something and just being proud of yourself each and every day, just using those values to carry you on through life.
So you said one or two things, Grant, that just prompted some questions. We just recently spoke with Jesse Luketa in the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals, of course, Penn State letterman linebacker, and he said once you put on those basic blues, you don't ever forget it. Can you relate to that feeling of being a Penn State football letterman and knowing what it's like to carry on that tradition?
Absolutely. I think, especially, I talk to my 2014 classmates all the time, right? And I think one of those things was when we came in at that time in 2014, right? There's no bowl game. There was, we still didn't have all scholarships, and you when you start to realize in that, and then having coaches that actually played at Penn State, in the 80s with Joe Pa, and like the tradition, the black shoes, the no names, like there's no way not to have respect for it, right? Because you understand where this program is supposed to be. You understand the people who helped it, who stepped in, like Michael Maldi, when things were changing across the country, right? And it's hard not to have respect and pay those people their homage, because without them, Penn State wouldn't be Penn State. And so it was always a thing where this isn't just because of us, right? This is because of the people that came before us.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are catching up with Grant Haley, Super Bowl champion, Penn State graduate, Big Ten champion, and of course, was part of one of the most iconic plays in Penn State football history, Beaver Stadium. So, of course, we're talking about the blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Grant, I can only imagine how many times you've been asked about this. So let me ask you. I try to approach it a different way. One, how often do you think about that play? And second, how often do you see it on television?
In all honesty, how often do I think about that play? Not much, probably never. I think it pops up so often, or obviously just my name is associated with the play. So, it's a talking point. And but for me, it doesn't come up, that much. It is in my mind, but it is something that, I can't tell you because I blacked out during it. So, when I get to watch it again, it's obviously very special. There's nothing like it. I remember we're actually, talking about some things with the 2016 team, some of the players, and um, I saw like an interview with Chris Godwin on Instagram, and he was saying that, that game, like the ground was shaking, and and just having those memories and moments of they do make you smile from time to time, just because you can remember it like it was yesterday.
So just want to follow up just for a couple questions, if that's okay, on that team, because we've talked with players from that team. They've talked about the leadership of that team, leaving Ann Arbor earlier in the season. You're 2-2, and then you reel off 9 straight wins. Of course, the Big Ten championship. How would you describe kind of the attitude or the grit or the resiliency of that team to go from 2-2 to hoisting up the Big Ten championship trophy in Indianapolis?
I would say it was almost a time where it was like a last result, almost like if we don't step up now, then a lot can change in our program, right? I think when we came back from that Michigan, I specifically remember just walking out for warm-ups and doing warm-ups, and there was fire Franklin on people's shirts, right? And at that point, we've been at Penn State for almost a year and a half now. We've built relationships with coaches, with each other, and I think it was just on, a group of guys who were just like, all right, well, we can't have this happen anymore, right? This isn't what Penn State is about. And you think of guys like Brandon Bell and Naeem Wortman and Deshaun Hamilton, who were kind of in the class above us. Obviously, Deshaun left with us, but they had put in the years and the leadership and what they did for us that year as leaders. Jason Kabenda, Trace. I could name off probably everybody on that team. I think that's why it was special, right? Because it wasn't just one leader leading the way. It was you had anybody who stepped up out there, was a leader, and we were counting on each other, right? You look to the man on the right and left and said, "We got your back," right? It was really just us against the world, and I think obviously winning that game, I think we played Minnesota in overtime, then we played Maryland and beat them, and then obviously winning against Ohio State, right? And you just feel the momentum shift, right? You felt that momentum shift when it's like almost you got a sigh of relief. You got a big time win against Ohio State, and I think we just ran with it, right? At that point now it was like, what's stopping us? And it was obviously a legendary run, being able to get to win the big championship, coming back down 28-7. I think, that's one of my favorite games. Is you just talk about a team that, was just resilient, right? Is being down 28-7 is the definition of just like what else is there? We have to win, right? And so I think that was what made, that 2006 team special.
Speaking of the Big Ten championship, there's this also, I consider it iconic moment where you stop them on fourth down and you're running across the field, your right hand raised. Um, of course, they reviewed the play, but in that moment where you had stopped them, um, what do you remember kind of about that moment and maybe the first couple minutes after the game? You're in the locker room with the guys before, everybody kind of, before the media comes in, before those other things happen, and that 30-minute kind of cooling off period right after the game. What do you remember about that?
I think, I remember truthfully the halftime of that more than after the game. I think after the game, it was definitely, a celebration. You're hanging out with the guys woke up with at 4 o'clock in the morning and went to workouts, right? I think at halftime, it was, a moment where we were obviously, I think we were down 28-14 at halftime. And, just the camaraderie of the group, right? Whether it was, I remember Naeem he wasn't even playing. He had hurt his knee, but he stepped up in that moment and had an unbelievable speech. Trace, Hammy, like they realizing and stepping up and saying this wasn't like us, right? And this is what we need to do to go out and win the game. Let's just be the people we've been, the whole season. And so that's really what I remember. I think you when you win and you're just being able to enjoy yourselves in the locker room. Those are moments where you're playing music and everyone's dancing. So that's always special. But I think that, what I specifically remember from that game was that halftime, the speeches, the motivation to go back out there and finish it and, win the Big Ten championship.
So are you still in touch with the teammates from that team or from your teammates from your days at Penn State? It sounds like you are. Either way, you're tight. How often are you in touch with those guys?
Man, I mean, like, everyone's got their, obviously we have some still playing in the league. We have obviously some retired. So everyone's kind of doing their own thing. But, at the end of the day, I mean, it's pretty special. The group of guys that, still get together and come together. I think, it's funny, you even when I hear things from, other NFL players who went to different schools, they're just like, oh, you guys at Penn State, you guys are closer than, the group you have is bigger and closer than anything I've kind of, been surrounded with. So, I mean, we're all kind of, I guess we're getting to that age where we're becoming golfers. So, we're trying to do these little golf trips every year. We're also at that age where there's weddings and bachelor trips and, every kid baby and people are having kids. And so, and we've become so close over the years, been there for each other through, ups and downs, that it's special to have a group of guys that, not only did you go through the ups and downs of football and workouts, the blood, sweat, and tears, but you have them as, like those, a lot of those guys are like, they're like brothers to me. So we talk, all the time.
So I believe it was last season. Did you return to Beaver Stadium? You were an honorary captain, I believe, along with Trace. I think you guys might have
Yeah.
talked with the team when you were back. What was it like to be back at Beaver Stadium on game day, be part of that environment? And was that the first time that you were back for a game for a while?
No, I actually had gone back because my first 2 years I played in New York, so the trip to Happy Valley wasn't too terrible. So I went back my first 2 years. Then I ended up, it was COVID, and I ended up in LA. So yeah, it was the first time I'd been back probably, I think probably since like 2019, or yeah, like right before COVID. And I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's such a special place. The environment, the fans, the alumni, the people who just truly love Penn State football, right? And it's such an honor to be able to come back and walk out there with the team, and be part of a letterman unit that is so special, right? And I think for me, Penn State is so near and dear to my heart. I will always try to make it up there because it's special. Now that I also live in Pennsylvania, it's not a bad drive. So I'm gonna try to get up to a couple games this year, and cheer the guys on.
I think we're going to bring up the video clip from the Wisconsin game.
Yeah.
It's a pretty happy guy in that shot right there, Grant.
He is. He definitely knew they did not get it on fourth down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was. I love that play.
So, Grant, you were back in Happy Valley in June for Letterman's weekend. You were at part of the golf outing. There's a photo of you with James Franklin, the two of you kind of reconnecting a little bit. When Penn State Letterman get together, how strong is that bond, given some of the things that you talked about with the history and the tradition, and just how special it is to be a part of this program?
No, I think it's a fraternity, right? That's kind of how I like to say it. It's a brotherhood and a bond that goes way beyond just blood, right? It's people coming together from all aspects of life, putting their blood, sweat, and tears together to keep a program at where its standard is, right? And so for me, I am obviously newly retired, and starting a new career, and so now there's more opportunities to be a part of Letterman events, be a part of alumni events. And I'm super excited to talk to guys who used to come back and support us when I was playing, right? Because now I guess I'm one of those older guys that comes back and supports the players. So you love to see it because you truly know how much it means to former players, right? Because I think there is something special about wearing that blue and white and those black shoes that comes with a sense of honor and a badge that people definitely wear it proudly, right? I think there's a reputation around Penn State football players, Letterman, Unite, right? Obviously, they're great football players, but I think they're also great people. They're great individuals. They're smart, educated, right? So I think that's what makes it such a fraternity, right? Because I feel like we separate ourselves in aspects such as those that I just kind of read off.
Kind of along those lines, and you touched on this earlier during the conversation, the Penn State Alumni Network. I mean, as a player, you experienced it playing in front of 100,000 fans. How much did that alumni and fan support mean to you while playing at Penn State? And then after graduating from Penn State, I'm just wondering, how often do you run into Penn Staters, and What has the Penn State Alumni Network kind of meant to you during your time at Penn State and after?
Yeah, I think the Penn State alumni has been incredible. I mean, just the support. I think obviously, I mean, I look on LinkedIn every day and I see another $1 million donation to Penn State, whether it's athletic program, whether it's the Penn Smeal College of Business, So you look at the support that you have, obviously in a financial aspect, but the alumni truly love Penn State. This isn't just a one-time thing. This is a generational thing. Like people's families go. I like to say I'm a part of my own little cult, right? So, but I think the alumni as supporters of football, like it's unmatched, right? I think the alumni as supporters of, you know, becoming into the professional world as well is unmatched, right? I'm looking and reading that Penn State's one of the top five or number two school for CEOs in the United States, right? So, and you don't come into a lot of situations where you don't find a Penn Stater willing to help a Penn Stater out, right? Whether it's just taking a phone call and being a sounding board for somebody, whether it's maybe having an opportunity for a job, so I think for me, being able to now kind of be in a professional environment and reaching out to different Penn Staters, I've been, amazed by the support of just being able to, have them as a resource for me.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with Grant Haley, Big Ten champion, Penn State grad, Super Bowl champion. That's a pretty good intro or short bio. We'll just got a few more questions with Grant. We appreciate your time, Grant. Transitioning to the NFL, obviously Super Bowl champion. That's something you don't ever forget. When you look back on your entire NFL career, and certainly we'll ask you about the Super Bowl. Once you got into the league, what were some of the things that maybe helped you right away? Where did you see yourself getting better? Because it's making it even 4 or 5 seasons in the NFL, like that's not easy. So when you got to the league, what were some of the things that you found that served you well?
I think for me, once you get in the league, everybody's fast, everybody's strong, everyone's coming, they're the number ones at their school, right? So you're competing, and what makes the difference, and that's the little details, right? It's whether it's being healthy, health is availability is the best thing you can do, right? Whether it's just being able to take it to a next level in terms of watching film, right? And I think that's one thing that's different from, watching film in college is way different from watching film in the NFL. Is obviously, different offenses, different schemes, different defenses. So I think for me, when I got into the NFL, the things that kind of gave me, advantage was, being coachable, being in the right place, minimizing my mistakes. And, that's one of the things, coaches harp on is like, if you make a mistake, that's okay, going 100%, but, just don't become one of those people that makes the mistake over and over again. And right. And so I think, those are just being disciplined, being in the right place at the right time, and just doing my job. Right. I think that's what, kept me around, for a long time. Right. Just whether it's also just knowing your role. And, sometimes throughout my career, my role was, being on practice squad. But I definitely will say, being on practice squad and knowing my role also helped me get on the opportunity to, be on the active roster and then going to, be playing in games in that playoff journey to get to the Super Bowl.
So leading up to that season, Grant, tragically, you lost your father in a jet ski accident. That was, first of all, I just want to extend our condolences, and I know that was difficult for you. Obviously, the ability to have being grounded in your faith, which is something that you're open about, you share on social media, the strong family support. You mentioned your mother. How big were those keys for you during that season, leading up to the Super Bowl and going through everything that you had to go through professionally, but also what you were going through personally?
Yeah, it was challenging. I think obviously very unexpected. It was the day before I went to report to camp with the Saints at that time. And obviously, that was, you think of people and you have this like hero mindset of, people, have this shield across them. And obviously losing my father was, very tough. And, but, I couldn't even script anything, just kind of how the rest of, the year and the next 6 months turned out. Very tough for me and my family, and just, being someone who, at the age of 25 is kind of being looked at as, the guy who's making decisions and in terms of things for their family. And but the support I had from, my mom, my siblings, my grandparents, my now fiance is unbelievable. And not just them, but just, I think we keep reiterating on just the Penn State alumni, and even the coaches and my teammates. I think I had teammates showing up to the funeral. Coach Franklin and Coach Smith had stopped by that morning to come see me and my family. So, I think I always knew I have a great support system. I'm beyond thankful that God had put them in my life. And, obviously you said faith has been, a large aspect of, who I am since I was a young child. And, I can't sit here and, ask God, why, but, I can take the the memories, the lessons, and the things that, I see in life, and try to make it a better world than what it is, right? And um, it was obviously, a journey to, get to that Super Bowl. It was hard, emotionally, to be able to, go out on that Super Bowl Sunday and, you know think like, well, this is a dream of mine, and like, one of the biggest people in my life isn't here for it, right? And but it was an unbelievable opportunity to bring I got to bring all my grandparents to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's rare that you get to play in one, but it's rare to you have 80-year-old grandparents being able to go to the Super Bowl, my brother, sister. So it was a special moment. I know, that, as much as it meant to win a Super Bowl, I think it meant, so much more to be able to, be present with my family in that moment, winning the Super Bowl after, everything that we had gone through together.
We appreciate you sharing that, Grant. And it should be noted, your father, Dr. Leon Haley, he was highly, highly accomplished, was the dean and CEO of the University of Florida's College of Medicine, was the first Black CEO in the hospital's history, and the first Florida resident to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. And just reading stories about him, he was so much loved and highly just lauded from colleagues and from everybody who knew him. And so I just felt like that should be noted too, that the impact that your father had on his community, both local and locally too, locally and statewide, and even nationally too.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, for me, as you get older in life too, you realize just, how as a kid, what your parents say sometimes now, makes sense, right? And I was, blessed with two unbelievable role models, and obviously, in my father, and just, raising me as a man. And so I couldn't be more proud to be, their son and his son, and be able to carry, my family's name, and, whatever aspect that may be.
Just another question or two for you here, Grant. You mentioned you're engaged now. You're the father of an 18-month-old. What's it like being the parent of an 18-month-old? I imagine that they keep you busy. And maybe what are one or two things that you especially enjoy about being a parent?
I think, my daughter, she is the light of my eyes, right? I think, I'll start with the second question. The best thing that, about, being a parent, also having like such a young daughter, is, I get to come home from work, and, my fiance does a great job, it makes it like a whole ordeal and scene. She'll have like the screen door open, and I'm pulling in the driveway, and she's screaming "dada" and banging on the door. So, it's those things that, put your life in a perspective, no matter how good or bad your day was. There's still someone who, when you get home is going to be smiling and, just wanting love. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned as a young father is just being able to, you know, push away some of the, my own personal feelings, and being present, for her. And then, just, it is amazing. Um, she just grows, right? And it's going by fast. And I think, just being able to, watch her first year, obviously I was doing ACL rehab and trying to get back to the league. So I wasn't playing football, and I was just training. So I was able to be present at home and, watching her and her first year and year and a half of her life has been one of the best joys that I have been able to witness. And, there is, I people say it all the time, like there is no other love than like having a child, and it is absolutely how I feel.
That's great to hear, Greg. I can't wait till she gets a little older and starts seeing highlights of dad on TV and YouTube, and she's gonna like, "Was that you? Was that you?" Lots of that.
I hope if they're playing highlights of that, then that means we haven't been Ohio State in a while.
Let's wrap up with the football question then. Grant, let's say any given Saturday, you've got an opportunity to speak with the Penn State football team, whether it's at practice or even before a game. What are, based on the lessons that you learned at Penn State and in the NFL, what are one or two pieces of advice that you would give to those guys about, just how to approach their work and the season in general?
I think what I would say is there's two things. I think just be present, right? I think enjoy every opportunity you get to go out there. One, because you'll never know when it ends, but two, because like, I think about back my time, playing Penn State football and just the relationships and friendships that I've built over the years, the things, that, built up a work ethic, a confidence, a type of sacrifice for my life. And so just being present, enjoying the people you're surrounded with, right? Because, it starts like that in even in football, every single year, regardless of, you get another year, it's going to be a whole new team, right? Seniors go, some juniors leave for the draft. In the NFL, people are cut all the time. Money plays a role. So just be present in the people you're with, and fight for the man to your right and left. And then the second thing I would say is don't stress, right? Just, people talk about, the best way to um, you know, forget being nervous is to be prepared, and right. And just know that you guys are surrounded with unbelievable coaching and unbelievable men who are going to have you prepared on Saturdays, right? But it also comes from a preparation standpoint from you as a player, and you guys have to hold ownership, not just for yourself but for your teammates, right? Because it's not an individualism isn't going to get you anywhere, right? If you can do it collectively and as a team, that's the best way to be successful.
Grant Haley, personally, professionally, we are wishing you all the best. This was a real pleasure. Thanks for stopping by the podcast, Grant.
I appreciate you guys, John. Thank you for having me today.
You got it. Grant Haley, everyone.
Wisconsin, I've got one question for you. Are you ready for Penn State football?